You ever wake up thinking you're about to start a normal day? Maybe you're running on zero sleep with a newborn, but at least you're home, safe. Well, let me tell you about the morning when all that went out the window, when a knock at the door just about turned our whole lives upside down. It was 6 a.m., pitch black, outside my wife Sarah, still recovering from a brutal C-section, our daughter Grace, just 3 days old, swaddled up and sleeping like a little angel. Then comes this pounding at the front door like someone's about to break it down. I peek out the peephole and there's Margaret Whitmore, the queen bee of our HOA, not a hair out of place. 2 board members flanking her like attack dogs, and some guy in a cheap suit who just screamed bureaucrat. The first words out of Margaret's mouth: "Open this door right now." I barely get the thing open before she pushes right past me, strutting into our living room like she owns the place. Sarah's in the bedroom clutching at her stitches, half awake and asking if Grace is okay. "Stay in bed, honey," I tell her, trying to keep the panic out of my voice. But inside, I'm boiling. Margaret's waving a manila folder around like it's a court order, and suddenly this suit, turns out his name's Harold Klein, from Child Protective Services, starts in with the legal talk. We've had complaints about an unwed mother raising a child in an unstable environment. I blink. Complaints from who? Margaret practically purrs from me. According to her, Sarah keeping her maiden name means we're not really married, and thus we're violating community family standards. I swear I could hear the Twilight Zone theme playing in my head. Sarah stumbles out, pale as a ghost, and suddenly the room's full of accusations: unstable home, financial issues, me being absent for military deployments, you name it. I tell them we've been married 3 years. Sarah's a teacher on maternity leave. I serve the country, not abandon my family. Margaret just keeps going, acting like deployments are the same as skipping town, and Harold, the CPS guy, is nodding like a bobblehead, opening his briefcase to assess if our 3-day-old baby is in a suitable environment. I step between Harold and the bassinet. "You're not touching my daughter." Margaret's eyes narrow. She sees a threat, not a warning, and says it's just another mark against our parental fitness. I'm grinding my teeth so hard I might snap a molar, but Margaret keeps on listing off everything from no proper nursery setup to signs of emotional instability, meaning Sarah started crying, which is a real shocker when someone's threatening to take your newborn. That's when something inside me just snapped. I leaned in, all 6 feet of me, years of Navy training pushing back every urge to let loose. "You've got 30 seconds to get out before I remove you myself." Margaret grins, thinking she's got me cornered with a CPS witness. But Harold's looking nervous now, fidgeting with his briefcase, realizing maybe this investigation isn't so open and shut. Then, just as things hit a fever pitch, I hear sirens. Margaret's confusion is almost comical. She didn't call the cops, Mrs. Patterson did. She's our 80-year-old neighbor, who's basically the definition of salt of the earth. She's standing on our porch in her robe phone, in hand voice like a whip. "I called 911 when I saw strangers forcing their way into this house at dawn." Margaret tries to shut her down. "This is HOA business. Mrs. Patterson's not having it. HOA business doesn't include stealing babies," she fires back. "That woman's tougher than half the SEALs I served with." Cops roll up 3 cars, lights flashing. Officer Johnson and Officer Martinez, no relation, come in all business. "We got a report of a break-in and threats against a family with a newborn." Margaret tries her best power move. "I'm the HOA president. This is a legitimate investigation with CPS." But the officers aren't impressed. "Do you have a warrant?" Martinez asks. "No, but..." "Then you have no legal authority to be in this home." You could see the color drain from Margaret's face. I lay out our documents: marriage certificate, military ID, Sarah's teaching license. Officers look them over, all checks out. "What exactly is the complaint?" Johnson asks. Margaret, scrambling now, starts in again about last names and deployments. Martinez finally says, "Keeping your maiden name doesn't mean you're not married. Military service isn't abandonment." Harold tries to save face, mumbling about reports and documentation. "From who?" "From me," Margaret says like she's proud of it. Then comes the kicker. Turns out Margaret's got a whole folder of surveillance photos, notes, even recordings. Johnson looks at her and says, "Ma'am, you've been stalking this family." "I've been protecting community interests," Margaret snaps. The officers start talking to Patricia and Robert, the board members who admit Margaret called an emergency meeting demanding immediate action. She's been obsessed since we moved in. Finally, Johnson's had enough. You're under arrest for filing false reports, breaking and entering, and harassment. Margaret loses it, screaming that we don't belong in the community, that our family isn't the right kind. Harold, meanwhile, realizes he's not just in the wrong house, he's on the wrong side of the law, arrested for overstepping his authority, trying to remove a child based on nothing but one woman's vendetta. As Margaret gets dragged away in cuffs, she's shouting that our daughter will grow up damaged because of our unnatural family. Sarah collapses on the couch, sobbing. Mrs. Patterson sits beside her, shaking her head. That woman's driven out 3 other families already, she says, and starts listing them: the Johnsons, the Garcias, the Williamses, each with their own so-called violation. Turns out Margaret's been using the HOA to chase out anyone who didn't fit her definition of acceptable. Different language out, single mom out, interracial couple out. In the days that followed, the truth exploded. Margaret's documentation was nothing but paranoia and bigotry dressed up as community concern. She'd filed false CPS reports about families for everything from speaking Spanish at home to having a teenage son, even having too many kids. At trial, it all came out. A child psychologist testified about the trauma this kind of harassment causes kids, learning to fear authority, families walking on eggshells, wondering if loving their child the wrong way would get them taken away. Margaret took the stand, made everything worse, ranting about proper families, traditional values, saying interracial kids are confused. Immigrants threaten American values, single mothers can't raise boys. Even her lawyer looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. The jury took less than 4 hours to convict. Judge Williams called her actions the worst kind of discrimination and child endangerment and sentenced her to 28 years, no parole for 15. As they led her away, she still didn't get it, still ranting about protecting children. But the damage she tried to cause just made us stronger. The HOA dissolved and rebuilt with new rules protecting every family, no matter the name, background, or story. Sarah's back teaching just got promoted. I left the Navy with honor, started helping families who get bullied by people like Margaret. The Johnson kids are honor students. The Garcias opened a bakery that's become the heart of the neighborhood. The Williams boy graduated valedictorian, got a full ride to college. The Chen family immigrants Margaret tried to push out are now leaders on the new HOA board. And Grace. She's 3 now, happy, healthy. Growing up in a community that finally learned the lesson. Margaret tried so hard to bury love makes a family, not rules, not names, not some HOA president's twisted standards. Funny how sometimes the worst people force everyone else to get their act together. So yeah, maybe you think your family's too different or not what someone expects. Trust me, that's exactly what makes it strong. And when you see injustice, don't back down. Stand up, speak out, call it for what it is, because you never know how many others are waiting for someone to fight back. I gotta ask, what would you have done? Ever had someone try to judge your family like this? Share your story down below. Let's talk about what real justice and community look like.